Hello and welcome to Keyani Wellness. I'm your host, Alia, and today we're diving into a topic that I find absolutely fascinating: intuition. How often have you had that gut feeling about something and it turned out to be spot on? Or maybe you ignored it and wished you hadn't? Well, today's guest is an expert at harnessing the power of intuition in ways that are truly inspiring. Joining us is the incredibly multifaceted Dhuha Awad. Dhuha is not only a geneticist, but an intuitive mentor, TV producer, creative writer, poet, and entrepreneur. Yes, she's all that and a friend. Welcome, Dhuha.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you and talking about our favorite topic.
Amazing, amazing. I'm going to get straight into it because it's so exciting. There's so much to cover. Can you tell me a little bit about intuition and the different types of intuition that we have? Because within intuition, a lot of people say, oh, I had a gut feeling, my intuition, a lot of that, it comes to around the same thing. But I also find that, there are two distinctions within a gut feeling and an intuition. And I think if you explain a little bit about what that is so people would understand a little bit better how they can differentiate between the two.
Absolutely. So intuition is something we're all born with. There's not a single person or creature that doesn't have it. The only thing is we, at some point in life, start to not listen to it or listen less.
Yeah.
It's like a radio frequency within us that we kind of reduce the volume or change. And that happens because of family, because of upbringing, because of education, because of community, society, friends that keep telling us, use your brain, focus with your brain. And with time, we start to go more towards pragmatic decision making than asking ourselves what truly resonates with us.
Yeah.
So when we talk about gut feeling, in many cases, yes, a lot of people have that feeling that can come as a sensation of butterflies in the stomach, can come as like a cringe, like no, yes. It depends from person to person. So the thing about intuition is that it is unique, just like our fingerprint. To individuals. No one has the same system. We all have our own system of connecting with it. Now, the 3 stages of understanding your own intuition, it's what I call 1, feel it, 2, listen to it, and 3, trust it. And what does that mean? It means when you feel it, you need to identify that part of your body that will actually give you the answer.
Yeah.
And as I said before, everyone is different. So for example, some people it's the gut, some people it's the heart. I had few clients that was actually the finger. The finger would tap up and down. Down would be no, up would be yes for them. And it was something they can't control. It was just automatic before even the brain registered the question. And then listening to it, meaning identifying the way it speaks to you. So it could be coming in words, it could be coming in a sensation, colors, feeling. It depends from person to person. And then finally, trusting it, going with it. Even if you think this is not the most rational or pragmatic, you go with it. And when you think about the value of intuition in our life, you realize it saves us from going through that pros and cons lists that you will write, oh, yes, no, and all. Because when you go into those lists, that's when you create yourself doubt and fears. Because even if I wanted to do something and I've decided and my intuition told me, yes, go for it. But then I went with my brain going, oh, let me write a list and decide yes, no, and see what the positives and negatives of this decision. By just starting to do that list, I've already started creating doubt and fear that doesn't allow my intuition to give me that full
And that's what a lot
power.
of people do, is what they say is they make the list, they do that action, and then later on they say, oh, I should have listened to my intuition.
Absolutely.
Oh, I should have listened to my gut instinct, because that is technically the first thing that came to them. But then they started making those lists and then they got lost in that, and then they realized that they made maybe a mistake. And then they said, go back to the fact that I should have listened to myself.
And that's exactly when I tell people, don't go asking questions to others. Ask yourself what you truly want to achieve. Believe in yourself and trust. Because when we talk about trust, intuition is also about trusting the self.
Yeah.
And when we give away trust to others, of course, in life we trust others, but it has to be to a certain extent. We cannot blindly trust others, not because something wrong about them, but we are different.
Yeah.
And we have our own intuition telling us what's right for us, as they have their own intuition telling them what's right for them.
Yes.
So what works for them doesn't necessarily work for us. And that's why we first have to harness trust within ourselves by using our intuition and giving it the value it deserves before we can actually interact with others.
Okay. Yeah, no, great. And that, I mean, building onto that, it's intuition versus fear. So what you're saying is that we actually sometimes convert our intuition into fear. It's like, oh my God, we put ourselves in an abyss of, I don't know, I don't understand. Why is my body telling me this? But I really don't want to do this. I want to do that. So what is, like, in your opinion, do you feel like, can you give us an example of intuition versus fear takes in, and then you have to really bring in back your intuition and tell your fear that this is, you're not valid, that kind of a situation or a scenario.
So you can never convert intuition into fear, because intuition is very sharp cut in terms of answers. It is like a knife with no edges. Yes or no. And you would know it, because it would just come with that confidence and power within you that you are just clear. There's a clarity to it, even if you don't understand the steps that you would need to take after you made that decision, but that's the right thing. And it comes from a place where there is also the right intention, because when you ask your intuition something with the right intention, it's already knowing that you need the support to make something good for yourself and move in the right direction. When we talk about fear, fear is an emotion or a feeling that can trigger anxiety, can trigger also depression in some cases. And when fear comes, most of the time it's because of the confusion that is happening. So how does that work? I'll give you an example. I had a client once who kept telling me, my heart is telling me yes, and my gut feeling is telling me no. And when they start saying these two contradictory, I say it doesn't work that way. It has to be a joint decision that they both have to say yes or no. When they tell me, part of me says no, part of me says yes, I always wonder, let me check first what is saying, which part is saying no. She's like, oh, my gut feeling. Okay, then. Why is your gut feeling saying no? How is the feeling there? And then you might discover that actually that's where they're harboring anxiety. Sometimes it could be the heart is where the anxiety is. And anxiety doesn't work with the intuition. You cannot actually access intuition, talk to it, when you are in a state of high emotions.
But can you mistake the heart for the mind? Because sometimes people say my heart is telling me this and my gut is telling me this.
And my mind is telling me
But your heart could be representing your mind, and you think that is what your heart is telling you. So sometimes people mistake the fact that these two, it's more like this and this rather than anything
working
else.
Together.
Yeah.
So the way they have to actually work together, they have to sync and work together. And the way it works, intuition and the mind, because yes, if your mind is telling you this is not working or this is bad, your heart might be the one going, oh, no, fear is triggered. So when you are in that state where there is anxiety or fear, that's not the time to go and tap into your intuition. You first need to bring that down, and there are different techniques to bring it down, like meditation, breathing. In sessions when I do, for example, hypnotherapy can also help the person to calm those emotions, bring them to a level where they are controlled. And from there you can access, because when you are using your intuition, you have to be in your state of peace. You have to be in that place where the background noise of your mind is silenced and you can listen. If I give you example of, imagine you have 10 radio channels going on at the same time, different ones. You would not be able
Yeah.
to listen or focus on
To tune in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens when we have too many emotions. And when we're talking fear, we can also be talking overexcited, happy, overjoyed. Also, when you're in that state, you're not supposed to make decisions. You make decisions when you are in a state of content and peace.
Yeah.
You're calm, you're clear, and you know that you're controlling emotions, you're controlling background noise, like your mind saying or something. So the way it works is, I always say your intuition is like the CEO. He makes the decision. Your brain is the executive who makes it happen.
Yeah.
What do we mean by that? When your intuition goes to, yes, go for this. You have a project you want to start. And you ask, should I do this? And your intuition goes, yes. That minute, you've taken so much pressure off your mind.
It's a relief.
Exactly, because it doesn't need to go into, pros and cons and all. And what happens then, once you make that decision, your brain goes, okay, now I can come with the solutions, with the steps of what to do next to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's the job of the brain. Because the brain has all the right resources, the information, the experience, the knowledge, the tools to research. It has all that analytical skills to make it happen.
Yeah.
And by giving it that free space to go into the doing rather than thinking.
Yeah. For example, there's a lot of people that don't believe in intuition. They say, oh no, I listen to my head. I listen to practicality because it's practical. A lot of people say, oh no, this is all that thing that you think is valid, what you think is intuition or gut instinct. But for me, I have to think from my mind and I have to make that decision. But technically, gut does play a very large part in this, right? Because you are still making a decision of what your body is telling you. For example, to take this job, not to take this job, or you go for an interview and the interview you think went really well, but inside you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get this job. So, but then you don't get the job, but the interview went really well because that was your gut telling you that, or is that your intuition telling you that you're not going to get the job? So how do you tell people that it is valid and it is very present that we need to use our intuition?
That's a great question, because most of the time we think that only our brain has all the information and knowledge and skills and experience. But actually, 95% of all that we experience in life is stored in our bodies, 5% only in our brain. What does that mean? That even in our subconscious, in every cell in our body, there is information. From this information, our intuition goes deciding what decision to make. So a lot of the decisions made by intuition is not based just on a hunch. It's based on information stored. The only thing, we're not aware of this. And that's why we think, oh, I'm just following my intuition. I have no clue where the answer is coming from and why I'm making this. But imagine there is a microchip in there, in every cell in your body, with information of everything you have done since you were in the womb.
Wow.
And experienced. And based on this information, your intuition tells you what works for you and what doesn't. So when we're talking mind and body, you can't really dissociate. On the contrary, the body stores everything. That's why the new science and neuroscience is based on this. Change the mindset, change the body. And in return, the body will change your reality.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. Another topic within the intuition realm is, first of all, intuition and wellness. How can we veer towards wellness through our intuitive mindset, our habits? And also, a lot of things happen, things like decision fatigue. A lot of people have to make very high-level decisions. All of these factors are within the intuition realm. And how does one hone into trying to work on their own personal intuition in order for it to help their daily lives, their professional lives, and also working with their children, working with people, so that intuition actually becomes a very strong part of or they recognize it, or they start recognizing it, because a lot of people, we all have intuition, but a lot of people don't recognize it. So I think, how do we get to that point where we recognize it to be able to help our daily lives?
Creating awareness. Creating awareness is the number one factor in making this. And if we think about intuition as something we're born with and we have it, and it helped the human race survive until today. There was the caveman who had to look at the different fruits that were around him and decide which one to eat and which one not to eat. If we think that intuition saved that caveman, our ancestor, and made us become who we are today, if we think that intuition helped entrepreneurs and inventors create the things we see around us, everything is created, was once a dream. But where did that dream come from? From someone who looked at it and thought, you know what? Yes, I can do it. And where did that yes come from?
Fantastic.
It came from in there. And so once you understand the importance of our intuition and you start to train it, yes, we're all born with it, but at some point in our life, we stopped using it or reduced the amount of trust in it. And so when you start thinking about it, just like a muscle that you're retraining again, it will get stronger with time, that you would not even need to think. It would just give you the answer, yes or no. And children are the best example, because they're born with it and they're still with less, I'll call them debris on them. And so they can connect much faster. And if we train children from beginning to trust in it, they will have less mental health issues than we do today. Because once you remove the stress factor, and you trust in something and you know I'm right and I know what I'm doing and it resonates with me and my ethics and my direction, life becomes much more easier and you navigate through your journey with ease.
How do you put it into practice? Because at Keyani, you work with us with hypnoenergy work, you do hypnotherapy, and you do also a lot of workshops with us and things like that. How do you, with your clients, basically face the fact of teaching them intuition? So either you mentor them into intuition or you teach them a little bit more about intuition. How do you do that? And what do you say to people, who would like to come and basically learn this, or people who are very interested in it? Would you be able to do workshops? Would you be able to do one-to-one teachings? How do you deliver that?
So the way I train intuition is through workshops with groups, and that we use meditation. The reason it's important to go through that phase to minimize that voice, the background noise that I said in the mind, like the sabotaging voice. With meditation, you're able to bring it down so that you can access. And then we train also about how to find answers. So people do leave with answers. But there is it's a process that we do when it's a bigger group. On one-to-one, you also work on removing with the clients the blockages, because a lot of people fear using their intuition. They feel like it might get them into trouble, or it might make them make mistakes. So that's why the work becomes intuitive, because we have to identify first, do we need to remove a blockage or do we need to connect this person? And depending on the situation, hypnotherapy is fantastic in helping that person access their subconscious and communicate with their intuition and identify it and create a connection. NLP is fantastic for resetting the mind, that will help remove blockages and enforce and install new programs. And then you've got the energy work, which also helps to stimulate the cells to accept the new information that is coming through.
And you guide the client to self-discovery, more like, they're doing the work, but you are there as a guide to be able to implement hypnotherapy, NLP, intuition, and a lot of energy work with that, so that they basically, it's more like a 360 outlook on their physical and their mental connection, correct?
Exactly. So it's much more of guiding that's when the intuitive mentoring comes in. And also the interesting thing with it, it doesn't need to be just for the healing process. It also works for a lot of people who are seeking professional trust in themselves to make decisions, whether they're starting a business, whether they have a business and they're wondering into venturing into a bigger thing. Or sometimes it works with someone who feels, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to find a direction in life and I want to start something, but I don't know what. Then we can also use the same tools to create a vision.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. I mean, there's just so much. Intuition is endless. I mean, there's just so much that we can cover, but today's time is very limited. So I hope that the viewers are able to understand a little bit more about intuition. I mean, Dhuha does like some amazing therapies. I mean, I've done something with her as well, and it's absolutely wow. So thank you very much, Dhuha, for being with us today. And I hope that we can have you on board with some other work as well, because you do beautiful hypnotherapy work and you do a lot of amazing energy work as well. So I really look forward to getting you on and discussing a little bit more about your future projects, your workshops, your teachings, because you will be teaching intuition, correct?
Correct.
At Keyani.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. And thank you for watching us. Please do subscribe to our channels and follow us, and do send us any questions you have for Dhuha with regards to intuition, with regards to teaching, with sessions. We look forward to that. Thank you very much. Take care.